Hi, everybody. Don Beisel here, giving you kind of a follow-up 6 days after getting home from my experience at New York Presbyterian Queens. I don't know if I mentioned it in other videos. I was offered the opportunity to stay another week, and then I found out from my friends that are still there that I probably could have stayed 2 more weeks after that, so I could have doubled my stay. And in a lot of ways, I wish I had. That's one of the feelings I'm really having is um, I miss being there. I miss being in Queens. I miss the environment. I miss my coworkers. And I got really attached to what I was doing when I was there. Um, it's kind of a rare thing in healthcare when the people you work with tell you every day that they're thankful that you're there. And it wasn't just me, it was everybody that was getting told this. And uh, that leads to another thing I have to say about all this. You know, every once in a while, somebody will say something like, "Oh, you're a hero for going to New York." I don't think that's true. I personally have a distaste for the people who have served in the military and run around and pound their chest about having served in the military. They all sound like Walter from The Big Lebowski to me. Now, I respect everybody who served in the military, but when you do these things, you just do it because it needs to be done, and you don't have to brag to everybody. And I post things about coronavirus on the Joplin area discussion group, and I haven't mentioned an awful lot about what went on when I was there in that group. I focus it more on, here's the science, and y'all should be wearing masks, and this is what'll happen if we don't. And a lot of that gets mistaken for grandstanding for having gone to New York. And honestly, I went to New York because so many people showed up in Joplin after the tornado from all over the country who wanted to help out. I had been essentially furloughed from the surgery center, so I wasn't working. And I happened to have built my career where I had the skills and experience to go and be helpful. And I know that's not everybody, and that's okay. But there were people, thousands of people from all over the country who had done the same thing. So I am not special. I never thought I was special for doing it. Yes, I got paid for doing that. Did I really need the money? No. I lived below my means. I had savings and I had 4 weeks of PTO because I don't take enough vacation on a regular basis. So I could have survived without the money. It doesn't mean I'm going to turn it down though, because, I guess I'm cheap. But so, there's that. I don't miss working nights. I don't miss staying up 12 hours a night, though it felt better than night shift ever felt in my life before. I didn't feel like I was going to die every night when I went home, and that's what it was like when I worked nights when I was younger. But when I was younger, I was going to nursing school and anesthesia school and college, and then working nights and then trying to do it all over again. When I was in New York, I structured my life where I worked 3 12-hour nights, had a day off to catch up, 3 12-hour nights, had a day off to catch up. And, that makes about 80-hour weeks when you round it out. But that was okay because everything was closed in New York. I wasn't trying to live a life. I was making sure to eat well, drink plenty of fluids, and that's all I was doing because there was a short end point. So night shift went pretty well in that regard. It took me a lot longer than I thought to adjust to sleeping during the nighttime again. The first few nights I was up for several hours, and I knew better than to lay in bed and try and sleep. I just got up and did something and gradually shifted my schedule around. And now I'm back to where I just wake up at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm ready for bed by 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So that's gone okay. I came back on Monday, and by Thursday, my wife was on a conference call Thursday afternoon doing some education things she didn't want to do for work. And all of a sudden, right after I finished working my bees, I drank a bunch of water, and wham, got hit with a kidney stone. I'd had one before, um, so I knew it was a kidney stone. And because of some things in my health history, I knew I had this 4 millimeter stone just sitting like a time bomb. My left kidney just waiting to go into the ureter and cause all kinds of pain, and Thursday was the day it did it. Um, Took about 25 minutes to get to the hospital, and after I left triage, I started the stopwatch on my phone, and it took the hospital an hour and 40 minutes from triage to when I got pain medication for a kidney stone. I was disappointed in that. After all the things we managed to do and the amount of time we managed to do it when I was in New York, the idea of them leaving somebody in the lobby in that kind of shape was kind of appalling, actually. Which is weird. It flies in the face of a lot of things that a lot of other nurses who have been in New York have said. You know, they complain about how awful the care was and how terrible it was. I wasn't at their hospitals, but at New York Presbyterian Queens, things weren't always as clean as they could have been. I mean, there was stuff on the floor and things because people didn't have time to clean it up. But the care was always solid when I was there. You know, patients weren't outright neglected. People were always running. And I think that's because as a group, we just worked really well together and covered for each other. And if somebody wasn't your patient, you still fixed their IV pumps because if their blood pressure meds stopped, they had no reserve. So we just knew to watch each other's patients. And so we were really good about that. But so I was kind of sad about waiting so long. And, you know, the resident and the ER doc came in and acted like they didn't believe I had a kidney stone, and they were almost kind of sheepish when they came in and said, "Oh yeah, we got the CAT scan. You have a 4 millimeter stone." For those of you who aren't good at the metric system, 4 millimeters is about a quarter of an inch, and it still hasn't passed all the way out. I had a bunch of pain yesterday, so we'll just see if I can get that the rest of the way out. But the other thing I want to talk about is what I call coronavirus deniers. You know, after having been there and seeing what the death is like and how many people were so sick, because when it struck New York, nobody knew to do the social distancing. Nobody knew to wear a mask. Nobody knew any of this stuff. I think it got there quicker than the government was aware of. I mean, I had this feeling in January when I heard about the coronavirus in Wuhan, China, that if that gets out of China, this is going to be a big deal. And it's been a big deal. You know, I went to Atwoods today and I wore a mask, and I bet you 1% of the people in Atwoods were wearing a mask today. Nobody was staying apart from each other. Everybody's talking about being together online and people assembling. And the most disturbing thing is people who come up with these made-up articles about how scientific principles in disease prevention don't work. I saw a video today that almost made me had a stroke. It was this very young RN. I bet you she's only been out of school 1 or 2 years, saying she works in a cardiac unit, which, if you don't know, people in nursing make a big deal out of working in cardiac. And I don't know why. Every area is actually difficult in its own way, but the cardiac people make a big deal out of they work with the heart. And she's telling this whole story about how you're bad for your body when you trap CO2, when you wear a mask, and you're breathing your own bacteria, and that's more harmful than the virus, and you shouldn't do it, and it's all a big lie. The only thing she is missing is because she works in cardiac, she didn't think about all the people who work in surgery, who wear a mask all day, every day, and who are not dropping like flies because they're wearing a mask all day, every day. Wearing a mask is not bad for you. It does help keep out the droplets that the virus lives in, that people are exhaling. You don't need a mask that blocks out the virus. You need a mask that blocks out the droplets. I know this PPE works. I spent 200 and something hours in ICUs full of coronavirus patients where you were sure pretty much everything you touched had coronavirus on it. You wore gloves, you didn't touch your face, you wore a mask, you wore a face shield, you wore a bunny suit, which was this suit that goes over your scrubs that you have to change in and out of anytime you leave the ICU. And I had a negative antibody test on Friday when I left, before I left. The antibody test was testing to see if I had gotten coronavirus the first week I was there. I had felt kind of sick. I was really tired, had sore muscles, and got over it. I didn't have coronavirus. I had something else. Maybe I just had dehydration and fatigue. Maybe I had a different virus. Maybe I had a GI thing. I don't know. I didn't have coronavirus, so I didn't have it the first week. And then when I got back, I got the nasal swab that goes back to your brain, and I don't have coronavirus now. So wearing masks, wearing your PPE works. So I guess my feeling on all of this then is, having seen how this works and how none of my friends got coronavirus when they were there working, but knowing that the real heroes of this whole story, actually, a lot of them did get coronavirus and some of them died. The people who were working in the hospital during the surge, before all of us reinforcements showed up, the real heroes were taking 6 and 7 patients at a time on ventilators and dilators and 12 pumps of drips. And the people who took the really big hit were actually the people who cleaned the building and who transported patients. I guess that was the bulk of who was celebrated when they did their virtual memorial service the first night I was there, for the people who worked there who had died. People weren't getting sick anymore when I got there from working with the patients, because by that time we all had masks and face shields and PPE. So please, people, just wear this stuff. Epidemiological studies say that if 80% of people wear masks, we can stomp this out. But, we've got people who are talking about their freedoms and the Constitution and so on and so forth. And I want those people to remember the first freedom listed in the Declaration of Independence was life. So if you are, your rights end where you can harm somebody else. So if you're not following these things, you can spread the virus to somebody who can spread it to their grandma who can die. It's not just that you're young and healthy, you don't have to worry. And by the way, don't be all that cocky about being young and healthy. I saw people 30 and 40 years old with no prior medical history die a horrible death on an oscillating vent on dialysis, all by themselves, with their family looking at them die on FaceTime. So don't get too cocky about that. I mean, it can kill any one of us. It's killing about 6% of the people in the United States. It's because in the United States we're fat, we have diabetes, and we have high blood pressure, and we just don't take care of ourselves. And we smoke. There's some data saying smoking might reduce your chance of getting complications, but if you do get complications and your lungs already suck because you have COPD, you're going to die. So if we do nothing and 6% of people die, and we just assume 300 million people in the United States, even though it's like 330, if we just round it down to 300 for easy math, that's 18 million dead people. So that makes the 87,000 we have now look like nothing. So I guess the main feeling I have is having been there and seen it and seeing what it can be like, and having everybody buy into conspiracy theories and have this being divided into red team voters and blue team voters. And I don't talk about my politics a lot, places where it can be recorded, but my politics are nuanced. They're not strictly red, they're not strictly blue. I tend to be more conservative in a lot of ways, but there are things that I abhor that Team Red just loves. So it's complicated. If there was a good third option, I'd probably be right there. But here we are. So please stop making this politics. Viruses don't care about your ideology. It's not attacking Democrats. It's not attacking Republicans. It's attacking people and all people. So I just hope the second wave isn't worse than the first wave, like the Spanish flu, because they thought the first wave was bad in the Spanish flu, and it was nothing compared to the second wave. So everybody, please just follow some recommendations. Wear masks, wash your hands, quit wearing gloves in the stores and out in public because it just makes you touch everything and keeps you from washing your hands. And just do these things until we can get a vaccine, and we're going to be fine. 2-3 years at the longest, another 6 months at the shortest. So that's where I'm at. As far as going back to work, even though my tests have been negative, they have decided that I can't go back to work until Tuesday after Memorial Day. So I guess I'm taking care of bees and helping other people take care of bees and hoping it quits raining so I don't have to put pontoons on my lawnmower to be able to mow the lawn, and catching up on things around the house. So I guess that's kind of a wrap-up of how I feel after this whole thing. I've been sad to find out some of the people that I took care of have died since I left, and glad to find out some of them are still alive. The 93-year-old Creole woman I took care of, still alive as far as I know. I talked to somebody who was on the unit the other day, and she was still kicking along. So you never know. Really young people die, really old people live. Do you really want to take the chance? I'm not gonna. So thanks for watching. I guess if you think I'm just a fearmonger and trying to end the world, you can put that down there in the comments. I'm going to tell you I'm not going to read them. So, but it's real. I've seen it. I don't need your affirmation. So maybe I'll catch up with you guys later. I guess if another wave hits or if I take another trip. But I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.